Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the 3Gun Show, episode 68. I am your host, Dave Hartman. In this episode of the podcast, I am rejoined by Rise Armament and Vortex Optics shooter, Dylan Easley. This episode is brought to you by MGM Targets. Setting industry standards in quality and innovation for over 20 years, MGM Targets has grown to be the most well-known brand of steel targets worldwide. The code DHMGM10 will save you 10% on your purchase. MGM Targets, leave nothing to chance. MGM Targets is putting up some great prizes to give away to you over the next few months. We just drew a March winner, and it is Matt Niehaus. Matt won a 10-inch Sportsman's Rifle target package. Congratulations, Matt. April's giveaway is for an MGM Switch View lever. This little guy will help you quickly swap magnification on your scope, which is important when transitioning from short to long-range targets. For details and how to enter, go to 3gunshow.com/MGM. Now, I got a message from a listener the other day saying they missed the show announcement on Facebook. Well, Facebook does that. They throttle the information you see, even if it's from pages you like. The best way to keep up with the show is to subscribe to it in your favorite podcast player, iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, etc., and make sure you're on the email list, which you can sign up for in the sidebar at 3gunshow.com or by entering one of the contests. Now on to the show. In this episode, Dylan and I discuss the new pistol caliber carbine division in USPSA and 3Gun Nation, how an allergic reaction nearly put Dylan out of the Missouri 3-Gun Championship, and the importance of balance in 3-Gun. Links to everything we discuss in this episode can be found at 3gunshow.com/episode 68, or you can just tap the album art on your smartphone and it will take you right there. Now, please join me in welcoming back to the show, Dylan Easley. Dylan, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back.
Dude, I'm totally stoked to talk to you here, man. It's been a while. You've been up to a lot of cool stuff, and you've actually shot some major matches in between the time we talked. And you also had like a whole off season. So how you doing, man?
Not too bad. Kind of refreshed a little bit. I took an off season for the first time since I started shooting, and it's different. So it's definitely different. I've never done that before, and local USPSA guys, they swear by you have to have an off season to kind of recharge. And I don't know, it was good. It's time with the family, everything. But then you come back to your first match, and you didn't really check to see if your rifle still runs, if your pistol mags fit the gun still, if your shotgun that you put a brand new tube on works. So my first match, I had to shoot somebody else's rifle, borrow pistol mags, and luckily my TACCOM extension on my A5 did work. So it was still ugly though.
You had a little bit of rust to work out, huh?
Mental rust, physical rust, and then little things like the last match of the season before I took an off season was the Walking Dead night match down in Crescent, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a fun match. It's theme based, so you're shooting zombie heads, which is always it's fun. My gas block seized up on the last all rifle stage. Well, you would think in a 4-month off season you would take the time to go ahead and fix that. No, that's not what happens. What you do is you put it in the safe and go, I'm not touching any guns for a while. So you conveniently forget, and then you get to the range and go like, man, is this gun even sighted in? And so I went, sure enough, and it's sighted in. It just doesn't cycle. So I end up having to borrow Michael Lindsay, local shooter. It's actually getting really good too. He let me borrow an upper. Of course, it had a different optic and wasn't exactly matched to my ammo, so things didn't work out too great. I ended up hitting all the targets, but it took a lot of ammo to make it happen. Accuracy by volume, right?
Nice. Dude, I've got a similar story. So last year, my shotgun started acting up, and I would clean it, put it back into service, act up again, clean it, put it back into service, act up again, and it was basically going to like bolt action, or it wasn't going back into battery. So every time I would pull the trigger, nothing happens, and then you cycle the bolt, right? Well, now I just lost a round. So it was even worse than just, it was terrible. But so my last match of the year, like the last stage of the year, guy on my squad, Wes Powell, says, why don't you just use my M2? I'm like, all right. And it pointed great. It was super light, ran just like a dream. The only thing is the safety was in a different place. So, but other than that, it was like perfect. So I've had all this problem with my shotgun. I just curse it and curse it and curse it. And then, I, like you said, put it in the safe and forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. So, then get it out and do it again.
Oh, God. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to the Tactical Performance Center for their multi-gun boot camp, and I pulled that shotgun out like a week before. And, it's snowy here in Colorado, and like all the ranges are, kind of closed and restricted access to the one that I'm at and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so now I've got this crappy shotgun. So broke it down. I watched Jerry's video on how to clean it completely, did all that stuff, put it back together, and just crossed my fingers. And my story ends a little bit different. It ran flawlessly, and I actually got pretty lucky on that. But it was the unneeded anxiety of like going to a match with something I'm not quite sure worked. Or I mean, not a match, 3-day class, but similar thing.
Well, it's good that you had the anxiety about it. The sad part about my story was I had no anxiety. I'm going to the match like, man, I'm going to go crush this. And I didn't even think about it. I show up and I'm like, yeah, you mind if I check zero real quick? I'm like, yeah, there's an empty bay over there. It's got one piece of steel at 100 yards. Yeah, good enough, Boom. Well, that's odd. And then rack it. Boom. Man, that's really weird. So I pull the handguard up. I'm like, oh, I'll adjust the gas or whatever because I couldn't get it to do, from the end of the handguard. Pull the handguard off, and it's not moving at all.
No,
and my stainless barrel is completely black, 3 inches towards the receiver, 3 inches toward the muzzle, and it's just solid on there. I ended up having to beat the thing off of there with a punch on it and knock it off the gun. Everything else, I swapped it out, and I switched over to a Rubber City Armory adjustable gas key, and standard gas block, and now the thing just. Man, it just purrs like a kitten. So
when you've got all that carbon coming out on the front end of the barrel, does that mean like your gas tube is clogged or something like
that? No, actually, I mean, I pulled the gas tube off. I could have reused it, but I mean, I ordered a new one anyway. That's the cheapest part on the gun, right?
Yeah.
So the gas block, when I took it off, I mean, it was just when I looked at the set screw that does the adjustment, it was just caked in carbon.
Gotcha.
I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds, and it finally got to the point, and I went, oh, the gas hole that's still left is too small, and I can't adjust it open. So I tore down my little noisy Cricket that I had from last year, the little 13.5-inch gun, and we were going to rebuild it as an 18.8. And sure enough, I look at the gas block on it, and I remember before I put that thing away, I was having some issues, and I looked, and sure enough, the gas block was completely seized shut. And I think it was just the type of gas block has those threads sticking in there, and it was a nice place to stick all the carbon to. So the new one I've got is a standard gas block. It's I think it's an Odin Works that I ordered from Joe Bob's, and I mean it seems to seal up perfect to the barrel, no leaking, no anything. And then I've got the stuff from Rubber City Armory to do the gas adjustment farther back at the gas key, and we'll see how it does after 4, 5, 6, 7,000 rounds. But I'm not seeing anything right now that makes me think that I'm going to have any issues. So I hope it stays that way.
Cool. Well, so taking just a little bit of a step back, what is the importance of the off season in the opinion of your USPSA buddies? Why do they swear by it?
Toward the end of the year, you start getting burnt out, I think. These guys, I'm blown away by how many matches they shoot. I thought I shot a lot of matches, and I shoot a lot more major matches than what these guys shoot. But they're shooting, I would say, on average, 1 to 2 club matches every weekend. Shooting here in Kansas City with Matt Hopkins and several other guys, GM pistol shooters, and you'll shoot with them Saturday here at Mill Creek in DeSoto, Kansas, not 35, 40 minutes away on the other side of the state line. And they'll go like, hey, we're going over to get dollar tacos. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go get them. Turn back around, and then they go like, hey, are you going to go to such and such place tomorrow? And I'm going, where? Oh, there's a pistol match 3 hours south or 3 hours north or 3 hours west or 3 hours east. And I'm going like, no, one a weekend is, that's all my marriage will allow. And they're looking at me like, "You're really not going to go? You can carpool with us." And so one of these days I'm going to hit one of those Sunday matches. And, the good part is, it's a pistol match. So it's 15, $20 to shoot. You only got to take one gun. You can pile 4 guys into a small SUV, save a bunch of money, and then, pick a designated driver for the way home. So,
yeah, it's something traveling to a pistol match with like one bag, and you're like, damn, doesn't feel like I have everything.
oh, yeah, no, it feels awkward. And I'll warn you right ahead. If you go to one and then you sit there and you're like, okay, well, where do I abandon my pistol and pick up my shotgun? That's not a joke they like.
They,
It is. They'll look at you like, listen, you abandon that pistol, I'll throw you out of this match. Dude, I was kidding, right? It doesn't matter. We don't abandon guns here. That's unsafe. Okay, sorry. Didn't skin, didn't know.
Still kidding.
But yeah, I mean, we had several years ago. We shot a gateway shotgun match out in Illinois, and some deer ran out in the middle. I was like, hey, so how much for the bonus target? And one of the guys there apparently worked at the range. And of course, I'm joking. I'm not going to shoot a deer with bird shot on a range. He looks at me and goes, "This is a Department of Wildlife, blah, blah, blah range." I'm going like, you do realize I am 100% kidding. I am not going to poach a deer with bird shot at 200 yards on your shotgun range.
Well,
and he just kind of looked at me and rolled his eyes and went on. I'm like, God, man, grow a sense of humor.
Oh man, the range I'm at has the same wildlife thing. Because it's on I think like 2,400 acres of private land. So, and there's no hunting there other than bow, and there's probably like 4 guys that do it. So they're fairly confident that they're not going to get shot, even when there's gunfire going off. We've been sitting there and like a deer will come up over the berm, like in the middle of a guy shooting like a pretty stout pistol stage.
Yeah,
and I've made that joke too. As far as like the bonus target, and someone always points out like, there's cameras on the hill, they'll shut us down so fast. It's like, Jesus, guys, come on, let's have some fun here.
Yeah, not to mention if the bullet goes through the deer, it's also going up over the berm, and I wouldn't send a round over the berm to kill a deer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to know that joke made you laugh, buddy. So
yeah, rough crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right, so burnout is basically what it comes down to. Is you need like some sort of rejuvenation period.
And I think there's some truth to that. I don't know that I'm going to take my wife would like to hear that I'm going to take another long break again, but I don't think I'm going to do it the length that I did. But I think I probably will take an off season next year. It'll probably be half of December through half of January. And I'll probably call that good. I pretty much stopped shooting the middle of November and didn't pick a gun up again until late February, and then tried to go shoot a major match, beginning of March, which, yeah, expected results, right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit too long off.
Yeah. Well, that, and I tried dry fire. I gave that up pretty much immediately. That was not going anywhere. I don't have the patience for not hearing bang and seeing holes appear when I pull the trigger. So. My ADHD kicked in. It's like, ooh, shiny object. Let's go watch TV. So,
I've listened to Ben Steger's show a bunch of times, and he talks about the the need for like a break period and stuff like that. And he actually takes a complete break from dry fire and everything, where he just plain puts everything down. But then when he picks it up again, he doesn't, jump in like you and I would. He actually pulls his gear out and starts dry firing again, and kind of dips his toe in just a few minutes a day, and then builds up from there.
Yeah, I think at that level you've probably amassed the skills to where you kind of ease back into things like, okay, yeah, I still love doing this. All right, well, I'll do it a little bit more tomorrow. So they're probably okay. At this point where I'm at right now, it's like, okay, so what's the little round thing? Oh, that's the barrel. Okay. That goes away from me. I need to put the other side against my shoulder. Got it. All right.
Which one's the dangerous end?
Yeah. Well, so I load the mags in. Do I put the little round points towards me or the little flat, shiny thing? Nope. Those go to the back. Round points forward. Got it. Which I made that joke 2 or 3 times today when I was ROing somebody at this match, and they kind of look at me. And I'd look down at their hand, and they would have, an AR mag, and the bullets are pointing back toward them, and they're getting ready to load it in the gun. I'm like, remember I said bullets forward? And you'll look down and go, crap. Spin the mag around and put it in. So, I think once you put the feeler out there, they start to screw up like that. Then you can have a little bit of fun.
So what is the what's the match that you shot that you just went out gung ho and expected to win and had some gear problems?
I would say it was the one down in Crescent that we talked about, the Walking Dead night match.
No. That was before your off season, right?
Matches.
That was before your off season, right?
Yeah, that was before the off season.
What was the one that you came back from?
Well, is that the same range where the Missouri 3 gun happened?
Oh, okay.
And it was their first monthly match, which is, they're basically leftover stages from last year, probably, that they've tweaked and moved things around before they completely tear the range down and then completely build it up again for the major match. So it was, late, I think it was late February or something like that, or no, early February maybe. I don't remember. And I showed up to it, and of course you're shooting to 450, 500 yards. I'll borrow an upper, I guess. Let's see how my ammo does in your gun. It was eye opening. That like, okay, maybe I should have dipped my toes in a little bit more, kind of like what you just mentioned. So.
Well, I guess we'll know for next year.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? I got to put it down in my book and write it down, make sure I remember it.
That's right. So now the then how much time did you have between that and the Missouri 3-gun championship before you were able to, or before you got your gear back together and were able to do some practice?
Well, I did a little practice on my range at home, I think on 1 or 2 weekends in a row. One of them, a local USPSA shooter, Bob Barker, not the come on down one. But we did some pistol practice, and then I mixed a little bit of shotgun practice in there at the same time. But got to use my pistol a little bit there. Other than that, we did one long range day with former 3-Gun Nation pro David Hill. We shot out to 600 yards to make sure our guns were on and our scopes were on and that our dope was correct and everything, which was kind of cool because the little Strelok app for your phone, it is dead on both of our rifles. So 2 different rifles, the same Vortex Razor scope, and 2 different ammo. He was shooting his reload 77 grain, and I'm shooting the Cap Arms 69 grain target match. And both of us, whatever the Strelok app told us to hold, it was dead on. So that was kind of encouraging before a major match. But that was probably 2 weeks before the match, and then another week or 2 before that I had some pistol practice. So I went into the match and didn't really have much practice going. Should have. That's not my normal match prep, but it also shows in how things went.
Well, so you had sort of a unique experience at the Missouri 3-Gun Championship, and I told you before we got started here that I had just ordered some tacos. They just put in a Mexican restaurant across the street from my house. Went and had some tacos al carbone, which is awesome. I've lived here 8 years, and they just now put this place in. My life is complete. But as I was going through the menu, it's like a traditional Mexican restaurant where they've got like a menu that's like needs 2 volumes because there's so much stuff in there, and then a photo of everything. And I saw this this soup that had like an entire crawfish hanging out of it, like eyeballs and whisker, or what do you call those, whiskers, antennas, and everything. Yeah. And it made me think of you. And I thought, oh man, I can't wait to talk to Dylan. So so Dylan, for those listening that don't know the story, tell us about your Missouri 3-Gun Championship experience.
Well, let me give you a little bit of backstory. I wanted to shoot the 3-Gun Nation stages in Tulsa when they were there, and Brian Corey was putting on club matches, and occasionally you could shoot the Pro Series stages the next day. So they had a Pro Series match. He was going to put this club match on. I was going to go. Me and my wife were arguing, bickering, everything else. I roll over. I give her a kiss on the shoulder. I go to bed, and all of a sudden, like, my palms are itching, my scalp's itching. I go into the bathroom. My lips are swelling. My eyes are swelling. My face is swelling. I'm starting to notice hives on the insides of my forearms and on my stomach and my back. And I'm like, oh my God, what the heck? So we thought it was my wife's brand new like body wash, right? So we threw away all the body wash, threw away everything else, bought all new, the old brand that we had used or whatever. Everything's great, everything's fine, but obviously I didn't make that match. So we fast forward, we move over to where we live in Kansas City now. We went to a place called Bonefish Grill, and first thing I ordered was Bang Bang shrimp and
Oh, I
didn't even
love
think
that
about the
stuff.
fact that the last time I had an allergic reaction, I had had a plate of grilled shrimp. And so we go there, I eat the whole bowl of Bang Bang shrimp. We come back to the house, same exact thing starts happening. And it was like, oh, light bulb. Evidently, I've now developed a shellfish allergy. So my sister's an MD. She came over and kind of watched over me for a while, and took Benadryl and everything else associated with it. And of course, you're drugged through the mud for the next week and a half because you have no energy. Your body's trying to recoup, and it's hell. So I'm like, okay, I got an EpiPen. I got it with me. I'm not going to eat any shellfish. I'm not going to eat this, and everything's fine. We go over and we're staying at Chad Francis's house the night
So
before
now we're fast
Missouri Three Gun.
forwarding to Missouri Three
Yeah,
Gun. So
yeah, this is the Missouri Three Gun.
this is over. Seems like it's a story over a period of a year or so.
Yeah,
Okay.
it like a year and a half or so.
Okay.
We figured it out, but I haven't had anything in over a year.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So we fast forward to a couple weeks ago, and we're staying over at Chad Francis's house, and there's several of us staying there, and he goes, hey, we're having a fish fry tonight. You guys want to go? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So they're having fried fish and hush puppies, everything else, and as they come around, I'm like, yeah, okay, if it's fish, I'll be fine as long as there's not shellfish in there. He goes, nah, we boil shellfish, you should be fine. I'm like, okay, cool. So we go, and I'm sitting there for about 20 or 30 minutes. My eyes are kind of itching a little bit, and I'm like, oh man, I must really be tired. So I look at my watch, and it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock. I'm obviously not tired, but I'm like, okay, no big deal. We go back to Chad's house, and like I'm getting a little scratch in my throat. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm getting sick. I'm like, well, eyes are kind of itching still, so I went to bed. 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm in Chad's living room. My eyes are almost completely swollen shut. And this is 4 hours before our first stage.
Oh man.
My eyes are almost completely swollen shut. I have to go through and basically open my eyes, clean them out because you get all the gunk and everything else, and I had to get my contact lenses out. Can't see anything. Running cold water, trying to put ice over my eyes, everything else. So I end up getting my left contact lens in, driving to the closest Walmart, according to my GPS, which I come to find out is like 45 minutes away from Chad's house. I get there, and thank God the place was open. And I go in, and it's like, okay, so I need Benadryl. I need Nasacort. I need Zyrtec. And I'm going through like all the different antihistamines. Like, okay, these don't overlap. I'm getting them all. And so I got all of that stuff. I got a big bag of frozen corn or whatever to put over my face to get my eyes to calm down. And I ended up showing up to the range like an hour and a half early, sitting at the range, laying back in my car going like, yep, I'm backing out of the match. I'm done. There's no way in hell I'm going to shoot this match. And the frozen corn, believe it or not, is probably what saved me more than anything. But I was on Benadryl the entire weekend. And, of course, if you've ever taken Benadryl for allergies, it wipes me out. Like, I mean, it just puts me on a whole different planet, and I have no energy. And so I shot the whole match on Benadryl, Nasacort, Zyrtec, and Bausch & Lomb Aloe eye drops, which, by the way, burn every single time they go on. So it was one of those things like every time you put them on, your vision's a little blurry for about 30 minutes. So just wait until after you shoot, then you can put them on. So the whole time you're shooting, your eyes are burning. I kind of sat there. When we got to the end of the match, I was glad I didn't back out of the match. But when I messaged my wife on, Saturday night, like how bad it was and the fact I was going to lay down and take a nap, she goes, why don't you get out of the match and just come home? I'm like, well, I've already shot half the match. Why would I back out now? I'm like, I don't think you understand this obsession. This isn't quite a hobby anymore.
I'm in no condition to drive.
Yeah. Yeah, I am in no condition to drive home. Can somebody hand me my rifle, please?
Exactly.
So,
I was just thinking, you shoot TAC ops, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think those only say don't operate heavy equipment. So if you're not in heavy metal, I think you're fine.
I mean, my rifle's probably around like 9 or 10 pounds upwards. That's not quite heavy.
Nah,
so.
it's not heavy at all.
I mean,
you're fine.
there's like an 11-pound cutoff. So.
It's legit.
But yeah, the last stage we shot Saturday night, Hunter Nubs comes over to me and he's like, "Hey man, you're up next. Are you good?" I'm looking at him, and of course I want to just like lay down and go to sleep. My eyes hurt. I'm a little cranky. I don't have any energy. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm good. And I'm the last shooter. And Chad and Becky Ackley have been looking at me like, hey, man, why don't you shoot first and go ahead and go back to the house? I'm like, no, man, that's not right. I'm going to help reset. Yeah, that's not the way I want to do things. So I waited. I helped reset, and then I was the last shooter. So all I got to do is shoot this last stage, get done, and it's like, okay, I got to go prone over here, shoot some steel, shoot some paper, hop up, dump my rifle, shoot some pistol, shoot some shotgun. I remember like half the stage. Apparently I did okay on it and didn't really miss much, but my memory of the entire stage, not so well. So then we get back to Chad's house that night, and of course I pass out on the couch at like 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. And you know the rules about passing out first, right?
Yes. You now have things drawn on your face.
I got lucky. I didn't get that because I mean, when you're a conceal and carry holder, people don't do stuff like that, I think.
Good point.
But Chad did go get his furry Crocs and put them on me because, you know, I make fun of him for wearing Crocs. And, you know, no self-respecting man would.
I didn't even know furry Crocs were a thing.
That have, like, fur on the inside. And trust me, he deserves that laugh 100%.
Yeah.
But so he put them on me so he could take a picture. And then, of course, when, you know, I'd also been breathing in the shellfish was in the batter. I'd been breathing it in, not just getting it in my eyes. And so like Monday and Tuesday afterwards, I probably spit up a pint of blood, to give you an idea.
Oh my God.
But Saturday and Sunday, I mean, you're congested, you can't breathe. So of course I'm laying on the couch and I pass out and I'm snoring. So they got that on video too. Made sure they shared it on Facebook. So, you know, what else are friends for?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. By the way, that was a really good Nubs impression there. You had like the accent and everything.
Well, the trick is when you do a Nubs impression is to bring your elbows in tight and do T-Rex arms.
Oh man.
And you get the Nubs impression going. So
I was just talking about auditory, but had to go there.
Oh, dude, that kid cracks me up. He gives me a call about every 2 or 3 weeks to ask me about this and talk about that. And I'm like, man, Nubs, you got to calm down a little bit.
That's why you've got the accent down as you talk to him so much.
Oh, man. And the thing is, like, he pops up on my phone, and it's worse, it says Hunter Nubs. It doesn't say, you know, his last name, just Hunter Nubs. Like, all right, Nubs, what's up, buddy? So, which he did give me a call here about a week or so ago. And he got sponsored. Both of us are sponsored by Vortex now. So he's calling me and he's like, "Hey, buddy, we're teammates now." And I'm going like, "Okay,
like, we can talk all the time now."
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're we talk like teammates. So under what banner do we both fly? So, but it was good to see him get picked up by them. So I think that'll work good for him.
Yeah, that's way cool. Good for him, and good for you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's one that I contact them every year, and finally I think they just got tired of hearing from me.
It's the Shawshank Redemption method?
Yeah. Ruben's like, oh, my God, dude. Yes, finally. Okay, fine. Yeah, you can put it on your jersey. Yes. Yes, I'm on the team. Yes.
So yeah, the match sounded like it was quite eventful for you then.
It was. The parts I remember were good.
So how did you end up with
I ended up
swollen lungs and swollen eyes and everything
I ended up taking 11th in TAC Ops. So we left the match Saturday night like, okay, I'm gonna be out of the top 30. Like it was, I had forgotten the target here on this stage, and this had gone wrong, and took forever shooting this, and eyes got blurry here, and this caused a problem. I ended up 11th in TAC Ops, and with all things considered, I can't be anything but happy about it.
Yeah,
because I was completely healthy and took 5th last year. So to drop 6 places after I want to forget this weekend, I was pretty happy with that.
That's pretty awesome, man. So the which part was most difficult for you with the condition?
I would say energy.
Oh, okay.
That was the hard part is how are you going to do something when you don't even want to walk over and stage your shotgun, or you're looking at the RO like, listen, dude, just beat the thing and let's go. Let's get this over with. Both of us want to be done with this one. Yeah, I mean that was the hardest part. The eyes, I mean, they just burn constantly. Your vision's a little blurry. My eyes were constantly swollen, and then of course I had almost no voice. So you're doing a lot of nodding and shaking your head, and But yeah, that was the hardest part.
So which one of the three guns was the most difficult for you to shoot?
I would say the pistol, which
Yeah.
which is funny because I did better with the pistol than anything. But the pistol, you had to really focus to even like. There's this thing on the front of the slide, and on mine it's on the front of the barrel with the sight tracker. But it's got this little piece of red like fiber optic in it,
Okay.
and
Kind
you've
of
got to
vaguely familiar.
yeah, you got to look at it and kind of find it and follow it. And I finally found it. I had to really squint hard, but I got it.
So finding that sight was pretty difficult, even though it's just at an arm's reach.
Yeah, yeah. I thought about bringing the gun closer to my face, and I remembered that the slide came back. It probably wasn't a good idea.
So just a painful experience altogether, huh?
It's we're a couple weeks out, so it doesn't hurt nearly as bad to talk about now. But yeah, yeah. Now we're good to go, and next weekend I head down to the Extreme Texas 3 gun, and of course Chad and Becky and all those guys are there, and I'm just I'm like, hey, I'm not eating with any of you, and you guys have all the shrimp you want, but don't come anywhere near me. So
yeah. So it being in the batter and then it being fried,
it was in the air.
Yeah,
that was it. It was in the air,
like a weaponized form of shellfish.
I think it was on purpose. I think,
dude.
I think Becky knew it somehow, and she had her kids there and she had her husband there, and they were all trying to beat me, and Tim accomplished it. So her plan worked, but that's what I'm gonna say is it was either her or it was Chad, because Chad probably thought it was funny. So I got to blame it on somebody. I mean, it can't just be a freak accident, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Well, so you have a couple weeks then until the Texas 3 gun championship. What is your focus then now, knowing that match is ahead of you?
That match, I'm hoping, is going to be a redemption match compared to last year. That match was probably one of the most fun matches I shot last year, but I had every single gun malfunction at least twice in that match. I broke a shell catch in my M2. I don't know how you do that, but apparently I figured it out. I had my rifle seize up twice, and I'm talking like slamming the buttstock on the ground while yanking the charging handle, locking things up. And that was before I picked up Cap Arms as a sponsor, so that was probably my fault with the reloads. But I'm going to go to my grave saying it's not. But it was a rough match last year. That was probably if not my lowest finish, next to my lowest finish all year long. And one of the only 2 times in the last couple of years I finished outside the top 20. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have to go and absolutely destroy the match and try and win it. I need to go and make sure that my guns run and that I have a little better plan than last year. So this one, I'm really looking forward to the match. I want to have a clean match to start with. Try not to have the mental errors and not have the malfunctions and the mechanical errors. If I get through it with that, I'll be pretty happy, and I think my standing will come out pretty good at the end.
So what does your preparation look like over the next 2 weeks then to make that happen?
I am going to inspect the hell out of every gun that I own. And I'm going to check everything from springs and small parts. And, I don't like changing things right before a match, but I've got a little bit of time where I can go to the range and test it and stuff like that. But if something looks fatigued, it may get swapped out. I've got 2 shotguns now. I've got my A5 and my M2. So if my A5 doesn't look like it's up for it, I'm going to go to the M2. I've got more than one rifle from Rise, and I've got a couple of the Vortex 1-6s, so I can make more than one rifle work. I've only got one Hayes 2011 until my new one's built, so I'm going to have it in tip-top shape and running. I just want to make sure that everything stays good and runs good. And I am going to take. I've got all these little bottles and packets of oils that have come in all the little welcome bags. I'm going to take all of them with me.
Just mix them up and run all the lubes.
You might see me with little. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my guns running wet enough that you're going to see little speckles on my face and my jersey, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep malfunctions from happening. If I can rely on everything as far as equipment goes, then it's just a matter of like, oh, I need to shoot these targets from here. Then it's just the mental aspect. So,
do you do any sort of like scheduled spring replacement or anything on your shotgun and rifle, pistol for that matter?
You're supposed to.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
One is supposed to. I'm wondering if Dylan does.
I've been told I'm supposed to. So it's usually, it gets down to the point like I contacted Aaron Hayes and said like, hey man, I've got this issue with my pistol. What do you think's going on? And he goes, okay. He goes, pull the slide, lock it back, take a piece of brass and then hook it in here. And I go, okay. And he goes, does it stick? I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of hard to get in there. And he goes, what do you mean it's hard to get in there? I'm like, well, it's kind of hard to push in under the extractor or whatever. And he goes, when's the last time you cleaned the extractor? And I go, I don't know.
Clean the extractor.
He goes, how many rounds do you have that in that gun? I'm going, I don't know, 10, 15,000. He goes, and you've never cleaned the extractor? And I go, no. He goes, okay, this is how you pull the extractor out, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you need to look at it really well and see if it's all gunked up. And I pulled it out. I had to get I think it was either a razor blade or one of the little Dawson screwdrivers and pry all the carbon and gunk out of the extractor. Oh, that's how that's supposed to work. So, and then after that, I didn't have any malfunctions. So now about, I don't know, every 10 or 15 times that I go to the range or shoot a local match or club match or something, I'll kind of look at it and go, yeah, probably ought to go ahead and clean that. And then I'll pull it out. I'll clean that part. And then, when something else fails, I'll figure to clean that too.
Dude, you're making me feel pretty good about myself and my maintenance regime here.
Oh, trust me, it's my maintenance regime over the next week is going to be ridiculous. But it has not been stellar up to this point.
But it does improve, or excuse me, does prove that you can learn from your mistakes. So at least you're taking a step in the right way. Taking a step in the right direction, though. You're on the path.
Yeah, I have to learn the hardest possible way, but I can learn.
So you mentioned that you've switched from the M2, the everybody's favorite gal, to the A5 this year.
Yeah, I switched a little bit last year, and I actually shot it in the 3Gun Nation Pro Series. Shot it at several other matches. There's some little subtle advantages from one gun to the other, no matter how you look at it. But right now, both guns run great. It's one of those things that I take both of them with me to most matches. And if I look at it and go, oh, so I'm allowed to have an open bolt start, and I'm starting with this, and okay, so it's 8 rounds, and the bolt can be locked back, and it's an empty gun start. Okay, well, the A5 looks like it's got an advantage at this match. And other than that, my A5's been as close to 100% reliable as my M2 ever has been. So I don't really have an advantage or disadvantage there. The only downside to my M2 is I don't have a rear sight dovetailed into the vent rib yet. So if there's a lot of slugs, I go to my A5 because I have a sight on it. But I'm going to have one of those put in my M2 at that point. It's kind of a wash. I don't really have a favorite, but I've got both. So I'm not sponsored by any shotgun company, so I can play with whatever I like. And so that's kind of playing with both of them right now. It's not a bad thing.
It's like having a whole set of golf clubs. Like, this looks like an A5 stage. Maybe this one's an M2 stage.
Yeah, I mean, so they've had a discussion about 4-gun before, right? You've heard that, like, okay, you should have your 3-gun kit and then have your long-range rifle. Mm-hmm. Bring your 308 AR, and that's what you shoot everything over 400 yards with.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about having a 4-gun where I can bring, like, all my guns and go, man, there's a spinner. Some 45 ACP would be fun here. So, yeah, you don't get to make that choice mid-match, but before the match, you can always look at things. So.
That's a good point. So, Dylan, moving along here from the Texas 3-gun match that you're going to be shooting, we had in your last interview talked a lot about like how you got into the game and what you were practicing, in different areas and everything. And I see you talking a lot about pistol. I see you talking a lot about rifle. Which one of the 3 guns do you think you're most proficient in?
I'm starting to lean towards pistol. When I first started, I would say I was most proficient with a rifle, and then shotgun was absolutely awful. So I practiced really, really hard on shotgun and got to where I thought I was, one of the top guys in playing with shotgun. And then now I've been playing hard with pistol because I think it's the hardest one to learn. So I've kind of transitioned. I'm trying to find that correct balance because you can't always practice everything every time you go unless you want to spend your life at the range. And I've also got to have balance with work and life and home with the kids and wife and everything else. So trying to nail them all down and get that balance lined up between all three guns and being proficient at all of them is been pretty difficult, especially when a pistol match is so easy to go shoot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and especially since we're seeing a lot of, option targets where it's, shotgun or pistol or rifle or pistol or et cetera. So then
yeah, exactly.
if you're proficient in pistol, then you can make that call pretty easy.
Yeah, I shot with Ryan Calhoun quite a bit last year before he got moved in the military, and we would go to a match and we'd sit there and we'd argue back and forth. He's a very strong pistol shooter, and I was a strong shotgun shooter. And be like, no, man, quad load in and shoot this. He goes, you're gonna take 2.5 to 3 seconds to dump your shotgun and pull your pistol at the end of it to pick up those last 2 pieces of paper. I'm like, well, what if I chuck in slugs? And he goes, then you're gonna spend $1 per piece of paper. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't care at this match. This is a big match. I'll spend the money on slugs. And so there was a couple stages, the 3-Gun Nation Alabama regional. The option targets on one of the stages, he shot several different things with his pistol, reholstered, came back, and he shot, I think, some of the shotgun only steel, and then pulled his pistol and shot the paper. And I candy striped in slugs and birdshot. And I mean, it had to be perfect because there was like 15 pieces of steel hit by everybody from a Mitchell-elect to a first-time shooter who had smacked a birdshot plate with a slug. But I think I edged him out a little bit on that one. So the option targets kind of they've been getting a lot of notoriety on social media and stuff lately with people arguing about whether they should be included or not. And they have their place. What I would say is if they don't add something, then why? One of the stages that we shot today at a local match, there were option targets, but there were 6 clays and like 6 pieces of 3 to 4 inch round steel at the same distance. That's not an option.
No.
You're going to shoot that with your shotgun. I'm not going to stand at 20 yards with my pistol and try and hit a 3 or 4 inch round steel and then try and hit 5 more of them. And I know that I can quad load in and hit those 1 for 1. But with my pistol, I might be spending a couple 23 round mags and, have a couple of parents covering their kids' ears while I'm on the range. So,
Now, was that in the middle of a stage or was that the entire stage?
Well, there was paper on the stage, but the paper was rifle only. So, if it would have been one of those things like you might have altered your plan a little bit if the paper was pistol. So it wasn't a complete option. It's just only these targets were optional. So, but I've been to matches where, you get something thrown into the mix and, all of a sudden it's like, well, there's no option anymore. Anybody who wants to be fast is going to have to shoot it this way. And it's like, there's no balance between the option's good and the option's bad in both ways. It's usually when you see an option targets, there's one really good way to shoot it if you can execute it. The other way to shoot it is usually going to be slower unless you find out some trick to just blow everybody away. So the option targets have their place, but I think the biggest thing is they need to add a wrinkle that makes you think about it. If there's no thought involved, you look at it and you go, no, this has to be shot pistol. Then you look at the next thing like, no, this has to be shot shotgun. There's no comparison. Then at that point, the option target kind of loses its luster.
So what's a good example of a wrinkle that would make you think twice about an option target?
Well, anytime you start mixing in clays, and then if you have decent sized steel, or if you have paper involved, then I'm going to weigh the option of like, hey, if I threw in a couple of slugs to get those paper, I don't have to pull my pistol at all, and I only have to load 4 or 8 rounds, versus I shoot the 5 clays, dump my shotgun, and then blaze through with the pistol. I'm going to look at that option pretty well. If I see nothing but great big steel and great big paper, and you're saying, well, those are all optional shotgun. No, they're not. No, those are pistol targets. I'm a shotgun shooter, and I'm shooting my pistol. Like, I'm not even going to bring my shotgun onto that stage. So there's, depending upon how you mix them in, and the stage design is really what makes it up. Guys like Brian Corey know how to make a stage design where it's got options where you stand back and you go, man, there might be an advantage to shooting slugs at 6 feet at a downward angle at these, 3 pieces of paper, at knee level right in front of you. And you're going like, God, why am I shooting 3 slugs? Well, because it's faster. It's faster to shoot those 3 slugs on those pieces of paper and go on. And I've done it. At one of his stages, I've done it where I've shot slugs. I'm not kidding you. Not using the sights, Ramboing it from the hip and nailing, the center of it because they're 2 feet away. Boom, boom, boom. 3 slugs in there. I'm like, I probably put a bird shot in. You wouldn't have been able to tell the difference on the hole in the paper.
Yeah.
But, that's where they really start to make sense. Otherwise, I think if you're throwing them in there just because like, oh, now it's an option. We've hit the new buzzword today. Well, no, all you did was put a list of buzzwords and, tried to hit one. Good job, buddy.
Speaking of buzzwords, one buzzword that I've heard a lot recently and that I'm quite confused on, maybe you can help me out, is pistol caliber carbine.
Okay.
And, so before we started talking here, you and I said, okay, well, there's, pistol caliber carbine in 3-gun, and there's pistol caliber carbine in USPSA.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it has a place in USPSA. Excuse me, especially for like classifiers where we're talking like turn and draw and situations like that. But it seems like it's really fun, and I can totally understand guys wanting to shoot, a pistol caliber carbine. I understand the appeal of it, but then the purist of me says like that is not 3-gun. So what's your opinion on the topic?
Well, and that was kind of the thing with the 3-Gun Nation match down in Florida. And unfortunately, I didn't get to make it to it, but I was watching some of the videos, and you're going, okay, so if we were shooting this and you're shooting pistol caliber carbine, there's no clays. So every target can be engaged. I'm going, okay, so all I'm taking is a pistol caliber carbine and my handgun, and I may borrow a shotgun for 8 rounds. That's the equating of it. So the bad side is if you're really heavily catering to that to try and bring people into a new division, I think, you're going to kind of kill the purist side of it. Believe it or not, the USPSA guys we shoot with on Tuesday nights, we've sat down and, we're talking constantly about this or that or whatever the recent buzzword is, or people are talking about a new division, this division, that division. And pistol caliber carbine is something they bring up quite a bit. And some of them are like, listen, it brings more people into the sport, which is good. It brings them in and also dilutes the talent pool in certain divisions, which is either good or bad, depending upon what your viewpoint is. The local USPSA guys are kind of split. A couple of them have brought out CZ Scorpion, stuff like that, and shot them. The match we shot today was a 3-gun match, and the guy running it was shooting a JP 9mm carbine, and several other guys were shooting PS90s, and there was a lot of pistol caliber carbines being shot. It's different. You can engage everything that's pistol with pistol caliber carbine. You can engage everything that's rifle with pistol caliber carbine. I think the problem with USPSA is kind of like you mentioned, like what do you do when the classifier says you have to face up range? Well, the argument I would make is, okay, facing up range is port arms. Facing down range is low ready. And the hard part that comes in is you talk about a classifier. Well, you're only doing a classifier against other people in your division. So if it's facing up range and you have to face down range, port arms, you're still comparing yourself to everybody else who shoots pistol caliber carbine.
Right.
Not the people who are in open. And, that was kind of the argument the 3-Gun Nation people had was, listen, pistol caliber carbine, it has its own set of scores. It is not the same division as TAC Ops or Practical or Open or whatever other division. It's its own division, which technically is its own match. I think I would argue it has its place at a club match. I don't know that I would shoot it at a major. I'll be honest with you, I've got a CZ Scorpion on order, and I've already got a Vortex Razor red dot sitting here for it, and I've got about $200 in parts sitting in a bin waiting to swap into the gun when it arrives. And it's getting SBR'd and everything else so that I can, put a silencer on it and have some fun with it otherwise. But I'll probably shoot a few, local USPSA matches in pistol caliber carbine just to kind of get under the skin of a couple of guys that were arguing that somebody like me might use it as rifle practice for 3-gun, but they would argue that it takes away a good competitor in, let's say, limited or production And so now your guy who would have been pushing you to compete against in limited, well, now he's shooting pistol caliber carbine, and now you've diluted the limited pool a little bit. And so the argument I made to them was all the guys that I shoot with at the local club are shooting single stack right now because they're getting ready to go to single stack nationals, which means their limited gun is sitting in the safe.
Yeah.
Which means I'm the only guy shooting limited. Well, guess what your single stack division did? It diluted my limited shooting pool.
That's a good point.
So it was kind of the same argument. You could use both ways. I don't think it's a division I'll ever shoot at a major match. I think I'll take it out every now and then and have fun. But if it gets a couple of new guys into the sport, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, you played in your baby division long enough, come over and have fun with the big boys. I think it'll be fine then. But I mean, I'm not completely against new divisions. Just kind of like we had a couple guys today that were shooting suppressed, and the only problem that comes into it is getting the timer.
Right.
So you're getting a little uncomfortable with them and kind of holding them at the hips while you're bringing your arm around them to get that ejection port so that you can get the timer to read it. But, I mean, at a major match, if you brought a silencer out, I'd be like, hey, 1 inch by 3 inches. Hope you got a silencer that fits it, and hope that I could get them to comply. Otherwise, if it's in the rules and they can have it, it's like, okay, you do realize that after your last shot, we're going to slap the timer because that's the only option we got left. So,
yeah. So pistol caliber carbine, so the guns look cool. The gun, I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. I like the idea of like the ARs that a lot of companies are making that, take Glock mags and stuff. I think that's kind of cool. So I guess you kind of won me over on it being rifle practice in USPSA, which I think is cool because it does give you like pretty cool, like hoser state or hoser paper practice, right? It's not going to take the place of long range by any means, but does it have a place in 3-gun?
It's hard to say. I'm not completely convinced either way, but it's something that I'm not going to partake in too much. Yeah, I might go to a local match or something like that, or if there's a major match that's close to home and somebody's putting it on and a bunch of guys are like, hey, let's go have fun. Let's all compete in pistol caliber carbine. It's kind of like Matt Martini and a bunch of other guys. They were doing pistol caliber carbine in Florida. Well, hey, guess what? You pulled Jason Edwards and a bunch of other people, and now you had a match going on.
Oh yeah.
And now you're fighting back and forth. Okay, well that's kind of fun. But at the same time, are those guys shooting it at the match this weekend? And I don't know that answer, but I got to imagine they went like, okay, that was a fun experience. All right, let's go back to TAC Ops,
sure.
Or let's go to TAC Iron, or let's go to Open, or whatever it may be. Because you shot everything with a 9mm carbine, with a 42 round super extended Glock mag. Okay. Well, your pistol's restricted to 140 millimeters, which is like 22 to 23 rounds of 9. Well, no, you got to skip that, and then you skip the rifle, and you didn't have to pull your shotgun. Like, okay, you shot a 1-gun match at a 3-gun match.
Yeah.
So.
Which, like you said, it's different division and everything, and that's cool. But when it's hard to fill heavy metal, and it's, sometimes it's even hard to fill open, then like you said, I think it kind of dilutes the sport. I'm not saying it's not cool or anything. Just I'm kind of wondering like the necessity at this point. Maybe when we have like 70,000 members, but when you're talking, 3-Gun Nation, I think they told me like 7,000 or something like that when we talked last year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the right time.
Well, and what I told the local USPSA guys, I said, like, guys, listen, if you put a minimum on there, like, hey, we are not going to recognize or allow equipment for a division unless there are at least 10 people registered for the match. And now if you're at a local club level, hey, 2 people, 3 people, or shoot it yourself. I really don't care. Everybody gets a participation prize at a local club level anyway. But at a major match, if you like, hey, if there aren't 10 people, there's not going to be the division. And so if you show up at the PCC, you're going to have to borrow a rifle and go buy rifle ammo.
Yeah.
And if you run it that way, like, hey, guess what? I can have 72 divisions, and TAC Ops, TAC Iron, and Open are going to get recognized because that's where everybody wants to compete. That's where that's where we put all of our money when it comes into guns. And there's going to be 4 guys complaining that once again they can't get PCC recognized because there's only 4 of them. Well, hey, you know what? You're 4 out of 275 people. You're the only people who want to shoot that division. well, guess what? The division will eventually die. I mean,
Yeah.
heavy divisions right now, I mean, I love shooting heavy. But the fact of the matter is you get all your heavy stuff, you get your ammo loaded, you get your 308 ready, you get your 45 ready, and then you find out, no, got to get my TAC Ops gun back out because there is no heavy division. Well, that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, if you have that,
if you make it like that, it's good.
if you have that like 10-person rule, that totally makes sense. But
Yeah.
in like a USPSA context, you pretty much killed Revolver with that decision, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, they've been arguing about that. Like, okay,
For
why don't we kill
years.
limited 10?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, hey, guess what? Get enough people to shoot the division, you can have it. If you can't get enough people to shoot the division, kill it. It's pretty simple at that point, right?
Yeah.
But,
So I guess
yeah.
that might be my hang up with it. And, I'm by no means a, expert or anything, but in USPSA, like you said, for years we've been saying like limited 10 and Revolver should go away because they're such small, I don't know, it's light support, right? But
Sure.
But if you don't shoot Revolver, I mean that's a darn shame that like one whole classification of guns goes away, and then limited 10. There's probably like, a guy that makes pistols for limited 10 that donates to USPSA or something, and then his business would be affected or whatever. But
Well, that's the thing with limited 10. It's basically a limited gun that you download.
Yeah.
And the whole reason it's downloaded is because, we had a ban so many years ago.
right,
Okay, well,
Right.
it's gone. Well, there's
Well-
New York. Well, screw New York. Well, there's this state. Okay, well, tell them to enjoy freedom and come over and play with us.
right. Well,
And, they can have their own little rules in their state when they're restricted. But, I mean, why would I have it in Kansas City where I can have
yes,
a 20-round 40 mag or a 23-round 9mm mag in my STI?
yeah,
Well, I'm not going to download it to 10 and come shoot some weird division to get a participation prize.
right. Well, and then like you were saying, it basically dilutes the rest of the pool, and I guess that's where my hang up comes, because we already have TAC irons, TAC ops open, heavy.
Yeah.
Right. And then heavy is hard to get filled. So like with 4
Sure.
divisions, it's hard to get filled. Why would you create a 5th? But
Well, yeah, I mean, you actually have two heavy divisions, heavy irons and heavy optics, and so
yeah, good point.
you've got 5. But the thing is, when's the last match you went to where they actually had either heavy division? Well, they didn't have to kill the division for it to happen. It's just people didn't sign up for it; they didn't want to play.
Right.
Well, and so it's kind of the same thing. Like, let's say you go to a match and you leave the match like, I'm never shooting this match again. Well, don't send them your money and registration next time. The match is going to die if people quit showing up, right?
Yeah.
And the other matches are going to take over because that match died and people still wanted to go somewhere. They just didn't want to go to that match. Well, it's kind of the same thing. If the division isn't going to survive, you'll find out pretty quick because 6 months from now, guess what? Nobody shoots it. So it's one of those things that's either it's gonna take off and everybody's like, all right, dude, you got to go get a PCC. You got to go get one because everybody's playing the game and it's a lot of fun. And I'm not going to deny I've got 5 loaded 30-round CZ Scorpion mags in my safe right now. I've got a 6 MOA Vortex Razor Red Dot to go on top of it. I've got replacement safeties and everything else to swap out on the gun, including a sling mount, a way to convert the end so I can put my silencer on. I mean, I've got all kinds of stuff because I think it's going to be a really fun toy to have. I'm still not going to shoot it at a match. So,
Well, tell you what, one of your Wednesday night matches, I'll come and join you, and then we'll both shoot your Scorpion, and then we can give a educated opinion on it.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure we're both going to say it's fun and then go, okay, cool, go put that back in the safe and let's get the toys out.
Well, awesome. Well, Dylan, that was more than I wanted to say about pistol caliber carbine. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings with, new products and new ideas and stuff like that. I like seeing innovation and everything. I just question like the validity of it, but it'll be interesting to see, what happens with it.
Well, I think the biggest argument that you can make for it is like the heavy divisions. A lot of people don't want to shoot the heavy divisions because it's expensive. I've got like 600 or 700 rounds of 155 grain 308 loaded that I was going to shoot in heavy division, and it's sitting on top of my safe because, like, God, man, even reloading it costs too much money to take it to a match and shoot.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm like, wow, this 223 is a lot cheaper. Pills are cheaper, powder's half as much. So, you get the opposite thing with PCC. You're like, oh, well, I can reload 9mm for this.
Yeah.
Versus I can load 223 for that. There's a lot of arguments there. I mean, I made an argument to somebody a while back that I know they kind of tried it with the U.S. Carbine Association or something like that, USCA, or I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But two gun. All the USPSA guys where I'm at, they're all afraid of the shotgun. They'll look at me and tell me straight to my face that the thing that scares them the most about the 3-gun, and I think that would be the hardest to learn the shotgun. And I'll look at them and go like, listen, I can teach you how to quad load in about 30 minutes, and in a couple of hours you'll be quad loading fast enough that you can compete at any major match. Then go for one. Don't miss, and you'll be fine. And they'll go like, well, if they ever do a 2-gun match, and I'm going like, oh my God. But I think people are kind of missing the boat. I mean, you could do, and I think 3-Gun Nation's doing it. They're doing 2-gun matches that are essentially 3-gun matches shot the next day, just pistol and rifle.
Yeah, and I think there was a couple last year that were actually pretty big matches. Like I think Armalite sponsored one. I forgot what the heck it was called, but it was probably like the 2-gun match or something like that. But I mean, yeah, like I dig that concept as well, and I personally don't feel like the shotgun is like my go-to defensive weapon, and I guess martial art is kind of where like all this sport that we play was born. So I totally understand that, but shotgun is so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah. No, I will be the first one to tell you I'm a shotgun guy. I'm a shotgun shooter. I love shotgun. I like going to shotgun matches. It's just shotgun only. Basically a 3-gun match, so nothing but shotgun.
Heck yeah, those
at the same time. Could draw a lot of people in. If I were going to be like, if I were going to do something right now shooting related, I thought was going to have potential of making money and being able to sell matches to people where they'd have fun, I would essentially have a 3-gun style match. Basically, it would be a 3-gun / USPSA match, and have it 3-gun / USPSA type divisions. Your TAC Ops is going to be basically TAC Ops. Your limited is going to be closer to what the factory is for 3-Gun Nation, and then you're going to have open. And then you take those 3 divisions, go, okay, here's minimum requirements for the caliber. And I would almost bet that you could get a lot of people there, whether they're shooting 40 or 9, they could bring their AR out of their safe. They could shoot the exact same 3-gun match, but they didn't have to worry about clay pigeons or flipped clays or flying clays. I think it would sell. It's just, I don't think it would be as fun as what we're doing now. So, kind of like PCC. You could draw people in, but whether or not it lasts long term, who knows?
It's true. Well, in like 4 years when there's a PCC Nationals and you and I are eating crow and shooting our scorpions, we'll know for sure we were wrong.
Man, I tell you what, there's a couple of USPSA guys here locally that if there's a PCC Nationals, they are going to lose their mind.
Mutiny.
Honestly, it's going to be fun.
Nice. Well, let's hope for that then, and see if we can watch the show.
Oh, I probably will take my PCC to shoot a local USPSA match and squad with all the guys who are like, no, it shouldn't be a division. It shouldn't be. I'll go, okay, hey guys, I'm going to come shoot with you, and I'm going to register in limited and show up and change division at the last minute where they can't get out of the squad. And just to do it for fun, just that one time. And then go eat dollar tacos with them afterwards.
Nice.
Listen to them complain.
Just listen to them complain and enjoy your tacos.
Yeah, exactly.
We should see if we can shoot PCC in like IDPA. What do you think the odds are?
Well, I could probably get away with the SBR route and a sling like the old Bonnie and Clyde type sling that kind of comes up under the armpit.
Oh, cool.
It's just you might need like a trench coat or something maybe. I don't know. The fishing vest I don't think is going to cut it.
Oh, yeah, because it's from concealment, so you need it.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I'll figure out a way. So I did figure out the 511 Select carry case, the little triangle shaped bag.
Mm-hmm.
The Scorpion with the folded stock when you SBR it. I can still put my my AAC Tyrant 9 short. I can still put it on the end, and it will fit in that case. So technically for IDPA, I'd be coming from concealment. Perfect. I'm pretty sure the minute that I draw that in the match is when I get thrown out. So,
have to extend the stock and everything.
Well, I mean, the minute you like spin that thing around and then realize that you had it the whole time, yeah. That'd be my first IDPA match and thrown out in the first 5 minutes. I mean, that's got to be like a record.
Oh, awesome. Well, I think we've hammered that one pretty well. Dylan, I want to talk like about our main topic that we thought we'd discuss when we were chatting couple days back, and that's balance.
Yeah.
So there's so many things in 3-gun that we have to maintain, to be cognizant of, to be proficient in, to make it all happen. And, that's one of the drawbacks that you're talking about with a lot of the USPSA guys. They don't want to come and learn the shotgun because they don't feel they're proficient in that. So you've got rifle, pistol, shotgun, but then taking a step back from there, you're talking about like your physical game, your mental game, and then there's like agility, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you view balance in 3-gun?
Well, what I've gotten to do is I've gone through and working hard on each different gun at different times and trying to maintain skill on the other ones. I start to see things crop up like you'll go to a match and be like, man, a strong pistol shooter could really nail it doing this. Then you sit back and you go, okay, well, do I consider myself a strong pistol shooter? Okay, can I do that? Because if I think that's the fastest way to do it, then maybe that's the way I should go. I'm a strong shotgun shooter. Maybe shotgun still isn't my best way. So you're trying to figure that part out and then going through and like, okay, can I make all these shots with all 3 guns? And so if you look at a stage and you're like, man, these shotgun shots are really hard. Well, they're not hard for a good shotgun shooter. So do you need to be at 85% of what your normal shotgun shooting would be if you practice shotgun really hard? But 85% there would leave you at 85 to 90% effectiveness with your pistol versus if you were practicing your pistol really hard. And then what about when you're doing shot or you're doing rifle? Okay, well, you don't really have to be at 100% with rifle to be super competitive. You need an accurate rifle, a good dope, and you need to know all that in advance. So what kind of balance can you strike that's going to give you the best result at the end of the match? And then I think for me, when I start to look at things, if I'm going to go to a match like a 3-Gun Nation match, your pistol game better be pretty strong, and you better be ready to do some stuff with your shotgun, between slugs, maybe buckshot, stuff like that. But if I start going to a match like Fallen Brethren down in Texas, which is a match that I absolutely love, that's a very long-range, heavy match. And you will see, 3-4 stages pushing over 400 yards. Well, guess what needs to be ramped up on that balance there? You need to be hitting the rifle a little bit harder and make sure your pistol game is still on because they're going to have some 40, 50, 60, 70-yard pistol shots at times. Shotgun, don't miss. Make sure you practice loading a couple times and you'll be fine. So as long as you know the match you're going to and kind of have an idea of the style that you're going to find, that'll give you an idea of where you need to strike that balance with each gun. Because depending upon the matches I go to, if I go to a 3-Gun Nation match, man, I'm hitting pistol hard. And I'm working on, getting 2 quick shots off on paper with my rifle. I'm sponsored by Shoot Steel now. And so I've been using BC zones essentially, or your Steel Challenge type gongs that are shaped like silhouettes. I've been using those a lot with the rifle at 50 to 100 yards. Well, I hit those harder for a 3-Gun Nation style match, but I'm not even going to bother shooting those that much if I'm going to go to Fallen Brethren. So when you're kind of finding that balance when it comes to 3-gun, you've got to break down what match am I going to shoot? What do I expect to be in front of me? So
now is that focus on the rifle that you were just talking about there? Is that because 3-Gun Nation has more close range rifle targets and then like mid range? Close range paper and then like mid range paper or mid range like plate racks or something like that. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, you've got offhand plate racks a lot of times with 3-Gun Nation matches, which offhand plate racks are a great test of skill with the rifle, especially, offhand instead of getting to rest. So what I've done is I've taken 8-inch round static steel from Shoot Steel and I set it at 50 to 100 yards and I shoot it offhand over and over and over and over again until it's boring regularity. And it works great for me. But if I'm going to another match that's a lot of long range, I'm not even going to bother shooting those. I'm going to get back at 300 or 400 yards and start shooting skinny Sammies and start shooting, smaller steel and be really ready to, go prone or be in an awkward position, everything else. So, the rifle game, you just need to change up depending upon what type of match you're going to because 3-Gun Nation, you're going to have option targets. You might spray it with a pistol. You might spray it with a rifle, but you better be able to get on that trigger and get on there quick because you're only going to see that target for, a half a second as you run by it.
So then the next match you have coming up is the Texas 3-Gun Championship, right?
Yeah.
And Kurt Gruber was on a couple episodes ago, and he described a little bit of that match and kind of what the feel is. You've been to that match before, so what do you think is going to be like if you're doing like an 80-20 analysis of like what is going to be the 20% benefit, or excuse me, the 80% benefit for 20% of my effort, where are you going to put your effort?
The places that you're going to get hurt the most at that match, if you can shoot rifle fairly well from a rested position, whether it's kneeling, standing, or prone, you're going to do fine with the rifle. They're big steel. They're not hiding anything from you. Kurt does a great job with that. Pistol, your game better be on. I've heard some rumors that after the Texas Star under the wall at Missouri 3-Gun Championship,
Yeah.
that Kurt started laughing. He goes, "Yeah, you better get used to it." I'm going like, "Oh no, don't tell me you put a star under a wall." And he goes, "Yeah, you mean stars?" And I'm going, "Oh God, Kurt, I hate you." So yeah, I mean, little things like that. You might want to get your timing down. As a star is moving, don't shoot the top because he's not going to make it available to you. The other things, like you're not seeing in a lot of matches much anymore, is flying clays. And I'm not talking about ones that get flipped out of a clay thrower, like flying out of a thrower away from you. So you might try.
We're talking about like those turret throwers that use in like clay pigeon sports,
that's
skeet, sporting clays. That's what I'm trying to think
expecting it. Yes, exactly. I'm fully expecting thrown clays from a clay thrower, and they will probably be either. If I remember right, looking at the stages, you may walk up and say pull, and they start going in the air. And I think it's like 10 on one stage. Well, you start talking about 10, and then each miss is anywhere 5-10 seconds apiece. Well, that could be detrimental to your match, or especially to your stage. But it could be detrimental to your match if you start missing a lot of them. So, guess what? I have my clay thrower at home, and I've gotten it out a couple of times, and what I found is some 1,300 foot per second number 9 AA's work really, really well with those. As long as he's not putting them too far away from me, I'll use a spreader choke if I can and just fling a bunch of number 9s out there. And hopefully that'll come out pretty well. So I'm planning on taking a little extra ammo with me. And luckily, I think this conversation will air a little bit after that, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. If it
not.
does, I didn't give any secrets away to the competition, right?
Yeah.
If it does air before then, well, hey, I shared a little bit.
There you
but
go.
I'm gonna take a few boxes of some 1,300 foot per second number 9s, and when that stage comes up, if I can candy strap them in the gun right, then that's what I'm going to use, because I think that gives me an advantage for something like that, and getting a little bit of practice in. And I'm probably going to get some load practice in this week as well, because I am expecting to have to load the shotgun, because I know Kurt he's a big fan of the shotgun, and he's an A5 shooter, so I wouldn't be surprised to find that there's a few places where you got an unloaded gun to start. And if he allows me to keep my bolt open, then I'll be happy, because I might have a little advantage there. If he doesn't allow me to keep my bolt open, I'm gonna chastise him for being a fellow A5 shooter who hated the A5 shooters.
So yeah, when I think he was saying that there's gonna be like a 54 round shotgun stage, something like that. So yeah, might want to practice.
Sweet. Yeah, no, I like those. Those cater to me. I know there's like a 46 or 47 round all pistol stage. So wow. I mean, he's offering some balance there, which I think is good. The big shotgun stages, your pistol shooters hated them, because it's like, man, I could have a great match, and then we have an all shotgun stage that ruins it. Like, well, no, you had 2/3 of a great match, and you forgot to shoot that other gun. But at the same time, now you can balance it out and like, hey, you had your all pistol stage. Did you blow me away on it? If you didn't, well, that's on you, not me.
That's a good point. And, that excuse doesn't go very far anymore now that we have like loading 2 and quad load, because I can understand that excuse when, you'd miss before and then have to reload, and then now you're shuffling from underneath and everything.
Yep.
But that excuse isn't really worth it anymore. And now it's just an excuse.
Well, and the thing is, like I said, the USPSA guys are deathly afraid of shotgun for some reason.
Right.
And it's like that's the one thing that they're scared of, apparently. Well, the funny part is I can take just about anyone who barely shoots a shotgun, hasn't shot 3-gun, and I can teach them how to dual load or quad load in 20 or 30 minutes, and they can be relatively proficient at it in an hour or two. And I mean, you don't have to go and start talking about sub 3 second quad loads for 8 rounds to be competitive. You could be around that 4 to 5 mark, and as long as you're shooting well, you're still going to be up there near the top. The people who drop down quite a bit are the ones who load really fast because they work on it in the garage, but they never pull the trigger on their shotgun, and they miss everything. And then they load really fast again, and then they miss everything, and then they load really fast again. And it's like, do you see what you're repeating here? Well, yeah, the first guy who told me that was Kurt Miller. He was we were shooting the U.S. Amateur 3-gun championship, and him and Trapper Swanson were ROs, and a couple of really good guys that have been doing this for a long time. Both of them weekend load old school. And one of the stages, they're like, man, just remember, you may be able to load really fast, but if you miss, he goes, it's not going to matter how fast you load it. You got to be able to go 1 for 1. And of course, the next stage we went on, there was like 16 or 17 shotgun targets and a potential double. Well, I went through and shot, loaded super fast and shot, got the double, put the safety on, grounded it, and Trapper looks at me and goes like, how many did you load in the gun? Well, I loaded in 8. How many do you have left? Oh, there's 1. I got a double. Are you sure? Wow. And he kind of went on, and I mean, I don't think either one of them converted over yet, but at the same time, they were like, okay, so if you load really fast and you go 1 for 1, that's where the speed is now. So, but that's going to be the top 3-4 guys. That's not going to be everybody. If you can load decent and just make your hits, you are usually going to be up there near the top.
So what's another match that you have this season then that is completely different from the feel of the Texas 3-Gun Championship?
I'm actually going to Texas 7 times this year, and I have a feeling that each one of the matches is going to have a little bit different feel. The Texas 3-Gun Championship has got, I mean, it's just its own feel. I mean, I'm shooting with the Extreme Bullets crew, being one of their sponsored shooters now, and so I get to shoot on their sponsor squad and shoot with Jana and Ryan Calhoun and Andy Peterson, a bunch of those guys. So that part right there has its own element of fun. But then I'm going to go back down for the Wild West multi-gun, which is the Chris Kyle Frogman Foundation charity match.
Okay.
And that's going to have a completely different feel to it. I mean, it's a 3-gun match on Saturday, a sniper match on Sunday, machine gun rentals, helicopter stuff. I mean, like it's going to be over the top. Nice. Completely different feel. Walking Dead night match at the end of the year. Again, it's a night match. So lights and lasers and shooting paper zombies in the head and all kinds of stuff. And then Jeremy Moore is putting on the Shooter Source Vortex, basically 3-gun. And Jeremy Moore, I've never shot one of his matches, and everything I've seen is like, hey, you're going to shoot some long range from some really awkward positions. And then I'm going to go back down to Texas for Fallen Brethren. And then I'm going to go to a 3-Gun Nation regional in Texas. And so I think they're all going to have a pretty big different design, even if the ones that are at the same range. And then the one that I'm really looking forward to is the Nordic Vortex Tri-Gun, which has kind of been kind of like the resurrected DPMS Tri-Gun. I'm really looking forward to what that one's going to be like, because if it's anything like the Nordic Shotgun match with all 3 guns, it's going to be a blast. And those guys put a lot of heart and soul into it. So I'm kind of interested to see what that's going to be. The one that I think I've got pretty much nailed down is going to be the zombie match in Nebraska.
Yeah, Zombies in the Heartland.
Yes. I got into it for the first time last year, and it's, a lot of 30 yards shooting a clay pigeon with your rifle, basic fundamental shooting, stuff like that, but very, very new shooter, amateur, semi-pro friendly, that happens to have several pro shooters showing up because there's a couple good bars and pizza joints down the road.
That's sweet.
And it's a lot of fun. So that one I think I've got nailed to where I know what I'm walking into ahead of time.
Well, let's take that match, Zombies in the Heartland, and talk about like your match prep for that and how you find that balance. But first, I want to say, like, I really wanted to shoot that match, but it happens the same weekend as the Pikes Peak Shotgun Challenge in Colorado, and I know, and it's 10 stages over one day, and that match is just a kick in the pants, and it tests all of the shotgun skills that you were talking about. Lots of thrown birds and things like that. So I had to make a tough decision, and I had to Had to stay local on that one, but man, okay, so let's talk about Zombies in the Heartland.
Yeah.
What is your play for that match as far as like preparing for it, where you can find that balance?
Well, considering that you're going to be there with Betzworth and Tischhauser and a bunch of other guys, the first thing you do is you start preparing your liver. And so then after you do that, that is probably the only match I'm going to re-zero my rifle. Or I'm going to go through and go, okay, I have my rifle zeroed, but then when I click down 4 places or up or whatever it's going to be, that's now a 25-yard zero. So I'm probably going to run like a 25 to 35-yard zero on my rifle.
Because of the clays.
They're clays.
So,
and the other thing is I'm probably going to shoot a lot of clays.
I've seen photos of this. For someone who's listening has no context, why don't you describe what we're talking about?
So it's a themed match, and Hornady has their own clay pigeons made that are all done in zombie green. Okay. Now, shooting with pistol, a nice big 9mm hole pops in it. Really easy to do. Shooting with a shotgun, it disintegrates. Super easy, right? Now, shoot them with a 223. And the first round may put this tiny itty-bitty little hole and you can't see it. So do you want to crank up the magnification on your scope to see that hole, or do you want to turn the magnification down and double tap it and see it disappear? So I'm probably going to be running a 45-round mag on every single stage that I don't have to go prone or shoot long range. And I am probably going to shoot nothing but 55 grain ammo, which will save some money, which is always a good thing. And then I may even switch from a variable power scope down to a 1 power, or if I run my Vortex Razor 1 to 6, I probably won't exceed 2 to 3 power the entire match. But you better get used to props. So, for instance, last year they had a sliding wall, and you can only shoot through the port in the wall, but there's 30 some odd targets that are 10 to 20 yards away from you, and they're all zombie heads that either flip over or bust a clay behind them. And so you've got to shoot them as you're moving, but you've got to slide that wall with you. So the way to think about it is you're in the Taco Bell drive-thru, and the zombies are coming across you, but you've got to like move the wall so that the next zombie drives up. So, it's theme-based. It's a lot of fun.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. Holy cow.
Yeah. But I mean, when you go into that, listen, it's basic fundamentals. Make your pistol hits. Maybe re-zero your rifle a little bit for a little closer, because you're not going to be shooting a lot of 100-yard offhand plate racks. You're going to be shooting a lot of 25-yard and 30-yard offhand clay pigeons that are held in a custom cardboard target.
So what's like the longest target then at that match?
Big gongs at 200 yards.
Oh, okay. So it is super new guy friendly.
It is very amateur friendly. To give you an idea, there's like 600 people that they get through there in like 3 days.
No way.
And you're shooting AM, PM, AM or something like that. And they do a really good job of keeping things moving. But one day they have a costume contest. And so people come dressed up as zombies, people come dressed up as Vikings and all kinds of other things. One guy was in like full Viking garb with like a loincloth, and I think he had like a fake zombie head on the end of a sword. And he was walking around there. I don't think he was shooting or anything. He was there for the costume contest.
Just a local.
Yeah. I sat there, we looked, and I was like, okay, here's a cell phone. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to show that to somebody later. Put it up, go back to the match.
So what's your costume this year?
No costume for me.
What?
So I'm going with a costume of a sponsored shooter with 3 jerseys that will be custom made and hopefully here before too long, with all my sponsors' logos on them. But I would be tempted that if I had like a 4th jersey to like maybe do the zombie makeup as the sponsored shooter who died horribly and got bitten when he thought he would last through the Z-Pac.
Nice.
So, we all think we're the guy on the top of the car shooting into the crowd, but we're really the guy holding the torch, wanting to try and eat the guy on top of the car. So.
Well, sweet. So we know how to prepare for a couple of different matches to find that balance. Then, one of the cool things that I've seen out of you lately is you're picking up a lot of parts and actually building a bunch of rifles, and it looks like you're building a rifle that's not for you as well. So,
correct.
This is going to be a giveaway or a raffle, or a prize rifle at Generation 3 gun. Tell me what's going on there, and yeah, just kind of fill us in.
Yeah, so one of my favorite matches of the year, if not my favorite match, is Generation 3 gun, and one of the reasons behind it is to get junior shooting, not just at that match, but at every match possible. So they reimburse people their match fees, all that stuff. You can always get a junior scholarship there. So one of the things that I did last year is I won a shotgun. It was a heavily modified Stoeger M3000 that was ready for competition. All it needed was, I think I swapped on a different mag tube. I swapped on 2 or 3 other little parts, and it's like, okay, now it's ready to roll. And so completely unfired. It was brand new, ready to go. And so when we got to the match, we raffled it off and gave it away to a junior shooter. So all the juniors put their name in, we drew them, and then I gave away the shotgun that I won. So I was talking to them this year and said, like, hey, man, I want to do something like that again, but I did a shotgun last year. I don't want to do that again. I'm like, let me think about doing a rifle. And they're like, well, if that's what you want to do, I'm like, yeah, I think it'll be fun. So I contacted Rise Armament, my title sponsor last year and this year, and told them what I was thinking about doing. And Brian and Matt over there, they threw in, basically I've got a lower that we're using. And then I've also got one of their black triggers that they have. So that's going in the gun. That just arrived this week. I contacted Vortex as a new sponsor, and they sent over a Strike Eagle and a switch view for the Strike Eagle.
Cool.
And Warren Scope Mounts, a new sponsor for this year. I contacted them, and Lonnie and Ken sent over a black Warren Scope mount for it. So far, I have the lower built, which I bought the lower parts kit, and I bought the buttstock and everything else, and put a grip and a stock on it that I thought would be junior friendly, whether you were a big junior who's not going to be a junior anymore before too long, or a really young shooter. You could be able to do it either way. Got all the lowers completely built and ready to go. So now it's time to start working on the upper. So I'm gonna contact a couple other of my sponsors and see what we could do about the upper and there's various parts options there that we can go with. And then also if people are wanting to make donations towards that, we can always work on getting people to, showcase their parts. Anybody who donates anything to it, we're obviously going to mention them, social media, outfits, stuff like that. But more importantly, when we sit down with G3 after the match and talk to everybody, all the shooters that are there, 250, 300 people who are sitting in that room, as we're all talking and going through things, we're going to make sure that every single person who gave anything to that rifle gets the notoriety that they deserve. So we'll go through and list off everyone who sent over, a gas tube, that sent over a gas block, who provided the barrel, who provided this part. We're going to go through, make sure that it's sighted in, everything else, and all they need to do is take it to the range and shoot it. So I'm going to sight it in and then provide them with some Cap Arms 55 grain match ammo. And the gun will be sighted in, ready to go with everything they need to be able to take it to a match.
That is awesome, man. That is way cool. So you're putting out the bat signal here. It sounds like if anyone wants to participate. So what kind of parts are you looking for, and how would they get in touch with you? Basically,
the lower is completely built. So there's not really anything required there. There's always the option if somebody has mags, custom printed mags that they would want to give to a junior shooter. That's always a great idea. But now we're working toward the upper. So we're starting from, we've got a scope mount and a scope from some very generous sponsors. We're going to have to go with charging handle, upper, bolt carrier group, handguard, barrel, comp, gas tube, gas block. Everything's going to be open for the top. And then as certain parts trickle in and people want to do that and, get a little notoriety for that and get that out there, we'll take those in. Whatever else doesn't come in, I'll buy out of my pocket and make sure that it's ready to go long before the match comes along. And I'll have it all built, put together, taken to the match. And the guys at Gen 3 are taking care of all the transfers for the kids, everything else. So I think it's going to be a good deal. We are talking to a couple places. We may actually have Tony Wall, and he runs a Make Ready Pro Shop. He may even do some custom laser etching for us on the lower and possibly other places to make sure that the junior who gets it knows that they have kind of a one-of-a-kind, that this isn't just some rack rifle that we grabbed and handed off. This was a competition ready to roll for that kid to shoot.
That's way cool. So what's the best contact method for you then?
Right now, the best one's going to be probably through Facebook.
Okay.
You can hit me up directly by adding me as a friend. You can also go to the athlete page, like it, and send messages on there. And that's going to be the easiest method. You can always email me at dreasley@yahoo.com, and that's all spelled out. And I can always give you a copy of that you can add later if you'd like. But if they contact me and they're wanting to donate something, I'd be more than happy to donate. Make sure that they get the notoriety for it. But if not, I will put it together. I will make it work, and we'll have it ready.
Way cool. Well, if you're driving and you didn't get a chance to write that down, I'll have links at 3gunshow.com. So just go over there, and I'll have links to Dylan's email address and Facebook pages and everything. And we can check out and see what Dylan's doing. And if you want to donate. It's a good cause.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Probably need like everything under the sun too. Like, I mean, we're not talking just like rifle stuff. Would you take like a rifle case and like a sling and stuff like that?
Anything that would go to the junior that would help them be able to shoot matches is always going to be appreciated. So if somebody's got they're wanting to donate a new sling or something like that, or sling mounts, I'm planning on whatever we build the gun as. Right now, the buttstock can take a QD sling. Well, guess what? As long as it's got a QD cup that can mount into it, then great. Let's roll with it. We'll figure out a way to make it work, and as long as the product is something that we can pass on to a kid that's going to help them shoot a match, then yeah, we're gonna end up giving it to that kid and make sure they have it.
Well, that's cool. Well, Dylan, it's a great thing you're doing there. It's a really cool thing you're doing there too, rather than just picking something up off the rack like you said. And so hopefully we get the support for it. Dylan, we've gone all over the place with our conversation here. This is an awesome Saturday night conversation after you've shot a match and I've had some amazing tacos. So if people want to get in touch with you, Facebook's the best way. Is that going to be it? Dylan Easley, your shooter page?
Yeah, that usually works the best. My wife gets a little upset with me when I give away the home address and the phone number. So, yeah, Facebook's going to work good for now. Email always works good as well. I try and respond back pretty quick. Apple has got me. I'm using their iPhone and an Apple Watch and everything else, so I can usually be reached somehow.
That's awesome. Well, Dylan, do you have any final thought or final piece of advice for our audience?
Yeah, know what you're walking into. I think that's the biggest thing. That's where my first mistake came at the beginning of this year after having a long off season, and so moving into the first major match and doing better than I expected I would have done, even dealing with everything, and then the match I'm walking into. I think that's kind of what I'm finding is that know what you're walking into when you go to that match. If you can do a little research ahead of time, that's going to help you quite a bit. But if you know what you're walking into, you can take the right ammo. You can prepare for it mentally, physically, mechanically. Clean and oil your guns. I hear that's a good thing.
I'll stand behind that clean and oil your guns thing. Well, Dylan, that's a great final thought of the show here. Man, thanks so much for coming back on, and always enjoy talking to you. It's always a pleasure. And thanks again for being on the 3-Gun Show.
I appreciate the opportunity.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Dylan Easley. Dylan is always a great guy to chat with about the ins and outs of 3-Gun because you can tell that he thinks about the game a lot and he takes it seriously. Other than cleaning his guns and things like that. Again, selected links can be found on the website 3gunshow.com/episode 68. And don't forget to sign up for the April giveaway of the MGM Target Switch View. Check it out at 3gunshow.com/MGM. And when you make a purchase at MGM Targets, you can save 10% using the code DHMGM10. Now, I received a few reviews in iTunes, and I'd like to read them to you here. The first one is from UTVOL1618, Utval, I think. And Utval says, podcast for all shooters, 5 stars. It doesn't matter if you are already a competitive shooter, 3-gun or otherwise, looking to get into the shooting sports, or just like shooting for fun and enjoyment, this podcast has tons of great information. I love the format, learning about professional shooters and folks in the industry, as well as gaining knowledge from their outstanding tips and advice. Not only has this podcast positively influenced my action pistol shooting, it has prompted me to start shooting in some local 3-gun matches. Thanks, Dave. Well, thank you, Utavol. I'm glad you're dipping into the 3-gun arena. That's cool. And the next one here is from the Little Hefe. And Hefe says, fantastic show, 5 stars. I can't express how much I love the show. Dave is an amazing host who is providing an awesome service to the 3-gun community. The production quality is second only to the quality of the guests every week. One of the biggest difficulties I've identified in our community is how fragmented the sport can be and how quickly it is changing. This makes it hard to stay abreast with so few fresh and reliable news sources. Now that I found the podcast, shout out to reddit.com/r/3gun, I can count on getting a quality weekly update with awesome competitors, manufacturers, or both. Thanks, Dave. Well, you're welcome. Thank you, Hefe. Next one's from Mitch0829, and Mitch sent me a really nice email as well. Mitch says, great show, 5 stars. I just learned about the show from a friend on Friday, and by Monday morning, I had listened to 6 shows. As I type this on Wednesday morning, I'm now 9 shows in. I find the shows to be fun and very informative. Listening to the pros talk about their views on training have really made me challenge my thought process on how I train. Looking forward to listening to the other 53 shows, plus the new ones to come. Wow, Mitch, that's a lot of 3-gun show in a short amount of time, dude. Don't overdo it. But thanks, man. And the final one is from C. Dalton, and she says, my favorite gun-related podcast, 5 stars. I love listening to these podcasts because Dave and his guests do a great job mixing high-quality 3-gun training tips with humor. I love getting to laugh while I learn too. Dave picks the greatest guests, and they cover interesting topics. The 3-gun community is very open to helping new shooters become better shooters, and this podcast does a great job of improving the 3-gun world. I highly recommend it to anyone learning the sport of 3-gun. Thank you, Cheyenne. That means a lot to me. That is such a nice thing to say. If you want to leave a review of your own, you can do so at 3gunshow.com/iTunes. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'll catch you in the next episode.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.